Hello Kaiju fans, welcome back to the Kaiju World Order. My name is MM, and this is Monster of the Week making its great 2026 return. If you've been following the channel since the beginning last year, I was trying to do Monster of the Week before, and YouTube acted up with copyright crap that was also just from their AI security or whatever, and I get it, it's just what it is. So I had to reach out to a friend of mine, Executive Hamster, and he ended up designing a banner, or not really a banner, but a frame you'll see here pretty soon. So going into 2026, I wanted to bring Monster of the Week back, and I decided to do it in a 2-week interval, so the winners are actually going to be posted on videos 2 weeks after they actually win the poll on the Discord server, which is the Kaiju Hugbox. You're welcome to join. And the first monster that I decided to start this off with is actually the last monster to win the poll in December, which is Gudis. Gudis is a sentient virus kaiju. It is the primary antagonist, pretty much, of the Ultraman Great series, which is the only Australian Ultraman series as well. And for Monster of the Week, I want to avoid just talking about the stuff that everybody else kind of knows about Gudis. Like, you can go to a Wikipedia and look up Gudis. I'm pretty sure the Toho professor has a Gudis video, and his stuff is pretty cool. So I just don't want to, recreate that. So instead, I kind of want to bring back the fantasy match elements that used to go on in the fandom before all the power scaling bullshit that kind of goes on now. Power scaling has its place, it's more of a comical thing, but when we're talking an actual fantasy match debate, you can look at it two ways. There is, of course, the writer's way, where, like Stan Lee once said, the writer's going to decide who wins, which is fine. And then you have the nerd way, who we're just going to debate it one way or another. And even then, there's other, rules, or whatever you want to call it, death battle rules. There's your power scaling crap, which I don't like for serious debates. I feel death battle has kind of, I don't want to say ruined fantasy matches, but the whole combining all the versions of one character into one, I hate that. But I get why they do it for their videos. So going forward here, I kind of want to talk about Gudis as if we could take it from Ultraman Great and throw it into a much wider kaiju kingdom. Say all the monsters from everywhere have been gathered, and here's Gudis. How is he going to really compare when he's no longer the big boy on the block? And Gudis really isn't all that special. Really cool design, interesting powers, but that's really it. As I said, he is a sentient virus, and its goal is to literally survive, spread, and mutate. Ultraman Great fought on Mars, and this is the first form of Gudis. As you can see here, he only has 2 really long tentacles that he can attack with, and those tentacles cannot constrict. He can't whip them at a very fast speed. They're not pointed to the point where he can impale victims. Gudis' tentacles are more or less battering arms. He just uses them to clobber his opponents. And besides that, he has no offensive abilities whatsoever. When defeated, Gudis can break down and then pretty much just go wherever he wants. In this case, when Ultraman defeated him, he broke down on Mars, turned into a green cloud of bacteria or whatever, and then went to Earth. At this point, Gudis cells began to mutate other animals. It brought an astronaut back from the dead, and just proved to be a nuisance for the human cast. Midway through the series, Super Gudis appears. It is Gudis reaching a supposedly higher power, and with this came a new design. It was slightly bigger, it had more tentacles that it could actually use in battle, but even then, it doesn't do much. In this form, Gudis was able to shoot some energy blasts from its eyes, and they did absolutely nothing. Ultraman was able to just deflect them with ease, which means they had literally no kick to them at all. Not even a cloud of sparks. Besides that, the tentacles that Super Gudis got, while shorter than the regular Gudises, were actually able to hold on to Ultraman to an extent. He still can't coil them around an opponent fully. Whatever monsters like Biollante and Iris can do with their tentacles would make Gudis blush, because his tentacles are just flaccid. And then finally, for Super Gudis, he has a very unique ability of, he can telepathically stun a victim with a sort of energy ring. This will then appear to shrink them down and drag them into his body. When this was done to Ultraman, Gudis was able to then communicate with the host of Ultraman inside of it. And at that point, there was nothing Gudis really could do, as Ultraman just gathered the rest of his energy and blew out the top of his head. With Super Gudis then domed like that, the whole plot with Gudis was over, and that Super Gudis' death signaled the end of that threat, and the series continued on, and we wouldn't see Gudis again ever. He would get brief notice in the Ultra Galaxy fight, where the Absolutions used some of his cells to try and turn Ultraman Max into a monster. This failed, and since then, Gudis has been just gone as expected. Now, as I said, I wanted to discuss more of what would happen if Gudis, say, popped up into a wider world of monsters. And for this, we're just going to pretend he pops up in the Showa-verse of Godzilla. And that means Godzilla, Anguirus, Rodan, King Ghidorah. He's going to be up against much better equipped monsters, and digging into his actual powers and his weaknesses, Gudis appears to have a weakness towards energy attacks. Even when the humans hit it with a little laser gun, it seemed really pissed off and affected. At that point, when Ultraman used his energy powers, not even his finisher attacks, Gudis just broke down. So there's really no reason to believe that, say, Godzilla's atomic ray, King Ghidorah's gravity bolts, Mechagodzilla's space beams, anything like that would just wreck Gudis completely. Sure, the whole thing with Gudis being a virus and mutating other animals into monsters might be a threat to the world it's from, but putting it on the Godzilla world, no. He's gonna, even if he spawns more monsters, the likes of Bogan and Baron Gas and Garukadon, none of them would be able to really stand a chance against Godzilla. Gudis even can't attack right away. It's so slow, it's so awkward. It's not a monster that's made to fight. It's made to infect and spread. So, putting even Anguirus up against Gudis, Gudis would get torn apart. And there's really no reason to believe that Gudis cells would mutate, say, Anguirus the way they were Ultraman Max. We know that Ultraman came in contact with Gudis several times in the first fight, and then in the second fight with Super Gudis, and he did not get any of those cells. When Gudis cells were used in Absolute Conspiracy, it appears that Saran and the Absolutions actually injected these cells into Max, which resulted in his monster arm growing. So if that is correct, that would mean Anguirus, say, biting Gudis isn't going to just immediately mean that he's been infected with Gudis cells. And if that does pose a new interesting question. That could mean we could have Gudis Anguirus or Gudis Baragon, but that's kind of stretching the whole powers of Gudis out a bit more than what we've seen. I would love if Gudis actually had that type of power with his infections. He just doesn't. So unfortunately, in the long run, Gudis may be a threat in his universe when you put him in a universe that's populated not just by Ultraman, but by other monsters roaming the world freely, just even the Showa Godzilla universe. He's not going to stand a chance. He's just the next in line. I hope he brought a lunch. And until next time, Kaiju fans, peace out. And Minya, take it away.
Godzilla says you should like and subscribe.